People you see erupting in celebration on the streets of San Juan.
This is amazing. This is what we all wanted.
So there you have, as they say, people in the streets of San Juan celebrating because, seemingly against all odds, Governor Ricardo Rossello is going to be stepping down on August 2nd, announcing, despite the mandate I was given by the public that elected me democratically, today I feel that continuing in this position could make it difficult for the success reached to continue. No reference there to the various scandals and corruption and all of that. But Emma, we've been watching this, for a little while now, and we've seen these historic protests developing. And I don't know about you, but I feel so beaten down by everything that's been happening here, continental-wise, that it seems impossible that the people could get their way, and yet this happened. Did this shock you too?
Yeah, so I mean, for the first time in the hundreds of years of Puerto Rico's existence, they have forced out a sitting governor without an election. And there have been hundreds of governors, which is incredible. I mean, first, appointed by the United States. Before that, they were under colonial rule. I mean, I think it's only been about 60 years where Puerto Ricans have had the ability to democratically elect their governor, which is incredible. And so they forced out Rossello, and now I believe Wanda Vasquez, I'm forgetting her last name, is going to take over. And so she's the Justice Secretary. And it really is going to be about how Puerto Ricans respond and who they want to put in place, how they can recover from this. Because we see internationally, leaders are forced out all of the time due to popular protests, or not all of the time, but when it does happen, it's enormously significant. And sometimes the outcomes aren't better than what happened before. So Puerto Ricans have to be really smart and really diligent, but they should be celebrating today because what they've done is historic and goes to show that Puerto Rico just continues to realize its political power. The Puerto Rican people are starting to just kind of have this renaissance of political self-determination and excitement. And it's really awesome to see. And the United States has to reckon with its colonial relationship with Puerto Rico. The fact that we are have implemented these austerity measures on the island, which have only worsened the problem and were the beginning of many of these protests starting in 2016. And a lot of that is wrapped into the fury that Puerto Rican people are feeling. So we have to ask ourselves in our government, how can we be constructive here? How can we give Puerto Rico political power? How can we make sure that the debt is taken care of and not in a way that just like ensures that bankers get repaid, but that actually Puerto Rican people reap the benefits of the debt being repaid?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you pointed out all the ways that not only were they devastated by the hurricane and the completely mismanaged, the tragically and life or death mismanagement of the recovery from it, but they're still worse off, and probably will continue to be worse off than they were before, because the U.S. seemingly doesn't care to help. You pointed out obviously the legacy of colonialism, and it seems like there's a chance that their energy sector might end up being even more corrosive in its impact on the environment and economically than it was previously. A measurable percentage of their population left and will never return. The actual demographics of the island have changed perhaps irreparably. And so I wonder, on the island, the people have done what they need to do, but is it time for them to no longer be separated? But can the separation between the rest of the US and Puerto Rico continue if Puerto Rico is to actually recover from what happened?
Yeah, I mean, that is what is going to have to be reckoned with in the coming weeks, months, years. I believe that Puerto Rico needs infinitely more independence. The fact that it's only been X number of decades, 6 decades, that they've been able to determine who is the governor of their island is an absolute travesty. And they are consistently treated as second-class citizens. And the fact that it's not recognized in the public discourse that we have a colonial relationship still with Puerto Rico, and we are a nation that was founded against colonialism, and the supreme irony of that is astounding to me. And Puerto Rico is as much of a part of the United States as the 50 other states, and we need to start treating it as such, because otherwise now Puerto Rico just becomes a tax haven for big pharma companies, for rich people, for tech bros, for these cryptocurrency companies, all of that, and they reap not the benefits. What's the opposite of benefits? They reap the opposite of benefits, corporate greed, and then don't get the benefits. So
yeah, the cost and the drawbacks.
The drawbacks. Thank you. My mind is scrambled eggs today. So yeah, that's what we have to avoid, and that's what's been the reality for a really long time.
Okay, and look, if that was to be undertaken, that some sort of change to that relationship, that would of course have to be initiated by them. It would have to be up to the people of Puerto Rico. But I know that obviously there'd be a great deal of opposition to that from Republicans here. I don't know exactly why. There's some reason they don't want it to become a state. I don't know, maybe someone will figure it out someday. Here on the Damage Report, we talk a lot about the big banks and their ways of getting rich off the poor. They saturate the market, but there are other options. And I've got info on a socially and environmentally responsible financial institution that has no ATM fees, gives you cash back on every purchase. They even commit 10% of their earnings to charity. It's called Aspiration, and if you go to aspiration.com/TYT to sign up, you'll get these perks, and that's more money to spend or to save or to spend. Just treat yourself.